It is now 2024 and I'm about probably 2 months late on doing my 2023 game of the year, but late is better than never and I'm still in the first half of the year. So this is going to be my 2023 game of the year. I actually have a list of every single game I played that released in 2023 and I'm going to probably give a brief rundown on them. Altogether in 2023, I played a total of 8 new release games, and I probably would play more, but I'm someone who has a tremendously huge backlog, so I try to sprinkle in as many other games as I can. So I only ended up playing 8 games total, and I'm going to count down from 8 to number 1 in this video. So starting off with the 8th best game that I played this year, which is essentially last place. I wouldn't even say best. Probably this would be the worst if we're starting at 8. But the first game is Starfield. I do have a review in progress recorded of this, but I'm yet to edit it, and I don't know if I ever will at this point. So I'll just give a brief rundown of what I thought of Starfield. Starfield had good things about it, and it had bad things. Things that was supposed to make the game good, like the interplanetary travel, the space travel itself, it was lacking. I feel like was severely misleading of what it actually was to people who played the game. Starfield was a game that was hyped as some coming of Christ next generational game that was going to break the very foundation. It was like No Man's Sky but on steroids and better in every conceivable way. Unfortunately for me, when I played Starfield was very boring. And I played Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is the only game in the series that I played. And I thought Fallout 4 was good. And people compared Starfield to Fallout 4, but Fallout 4 wasn't as boring as Starfield. So that is why Starfield is on the very last game of my list at number 8 of 2023. It's not a bad game. It's not a great game either. It's just very, very middle of the road, 5 or 6 out of 10. And the longer you play it, the more bored you will get. I finished with like 50 hours played in that game, and I just couldn't play any more of it, mostly because other games were coming out, but I had no interest to return to it. So Starfield is number 8 on my list and probably was the most disappointing game of 2023. Number 7 on the list is Tchia. Tchia is a very, very small game made by a very small studio. It was released early on the year on PlayStation Plus, and the game itself is a good game. Tchia is very fun. It's very simplistic. It's an open world game that you do collectibles and mini games and stuff in, and you can turn yourself into animals. It was an overall good game, but it was plagued by technical aspects that hindered my enjoyance of it. Specifically, there were 2 cutscenes where I had to skip, one of which was at the very end of the game that I had to skip, so I don't know how the game ends story-wise, and I had to skip another one midway through. I was playing on PS4 because I wanted to experience what a lot of people would be experiencing, and if you play it on PS5, you can be like, yes, there are not really any issues with it, and you're not going to get a fair view of what's wrong with the game. So Tchia is number 7. It's a good game overall. It's enjoyable. It's not anything that's going to win Game of the Year or anything like that by any means. If you enjoy those games, you'll enjoy your time with it. It's just a cute, simple game. I want to emphasize that Tchia is better than Starfield. If Starfield starts at like a 5 or a 6, then that's where these games start. Like, none of these games on my list are terrible. Every game I played this year I enjoyed, but Tchia is better than Starfield. So I want to emphasize that going from 8 to 7 on my list is night and day different. Next on the list is 2K Drive. 2K Drive is a Lego, well, technically it's a Lego 2K Drive, so it kind of answers itself of what type of game it is. It's a Legos racing game, and this game was supposed to be a live service game, and maybe they still do add content to it, but I think for the most part it's kind of done because they don't even care to patch a trophy where when you hit, I think it's hitting level 30, if you do it when you're in a race then you won't get the trophy unlocked or the achievement, whatever you want to call it. You won't get that trophy, and I ended up having to replay the game. Thank you for a live service game that doesn't actually do live service to your game, only on the monetization side. That's not a breath of fresh air. But the game itself is pretty fun. I enjoy all kind of racing games, and it's hard to make a bad racing game. If your game has a car and I can come in first, your game at least is going to be decent. I very much enjoyed the Lego 2K Drive, and I felt like it was small enough to, I mean, technically I would call it an indie game. Yes, it's made by 2K, but the basic concept of this game, like, it's so basic. There's nothing in it that I would warrant as a AAA game to where it's some in-depth detail or anything like that. No, it's not an indie game, but I feel like between Tchia and 2K Drive has the advantage just because I like racing games more than games like Tchia, which I guess is just play mini games. But 2K Drive is number 7 on my list. I think we're at 7. No, this is 6. Number 6. Next up is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. And I want to point out, I did not beat this game. I got up until it's towards the end of the game. You go to this area and it's like this huge battlefield. Like corpses are lying everywhere. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. There's this big door you have to go into. It's not the Lu Bu fight. What is his name? Lu Blue something. There's 2 doors with like big doors that you have to enter into. But it's the second one. I know I played every single boss except for the last boss, and it's not that I didn't finish the game. Other games just came out around this time, and I know specifically that Game Pass ran out because that's how I was playing it, and Game Pass ran out on the day that I was going to finish it, so I never got to finish it. But I would have. It was an enjoyable game up to that point, and it definitely cracks the top 5. It was the number 5 game on my list here, and it was enjoyable. It wasn't great, you know. I think I probably would rate it around a 7, a 7.5, somewhere's in there. It wasn't anything super unique, and if you played games like this before, it was more or less the same algorithm, so you knew what you were playing going into it. Number 4 on my list is a game that came out pretty late into the year, and that is Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Up to this point, I hadn't really saw the Avatar movies. I saw Avatar 1 back when it first came out, and I can't really tell you much about it, but the game itself was pretty good. Again, this is one of those games where all the reviews were saying, if you like Far Cry, then you'll like this because it's like Far Cry except in the Avatar universe. And the thing with that is I have never played a Far Cry game, so I just know they're first person shooters, and I guess shooters, some of them have guns, but it's mostly arrows, similar to Avatar. Overall, Avatar was a decent game. Again, I love open world games, and any game that has collectibles, quests in the open world, skill progression, those are going to always probably be on the top of my list. You know, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, again, this is probably a game to where it's like a 7. I don't know if I would go as far to give it an 8. Because 8 just seems way too high for a game like this. But I enjoyed my time with Avatar. It wasn't the best game of the year by any means. It had a lot of room for improvement. And again, this game, there was a quest specifically that other people were having. You couldn't complete the quest. It was bugged. And I still have the game on my console because there's DLCs coming for it eventually. And I wanted to complete that quest. But every time I check, I don't know if there's been updates and it's just updated in rest mode and the quest is now fixed. Games released where you can't fully 100% them, even though technically I got all the trophies. I still have that one quest that's sitting unfinished because you have to go talk to someone at the second base that you unlock, or the third base, whichever. It's the final base, and the dude just keeps walking away and walking away. Avatar: Frontiers on Pandora was an enjoyable game though. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad. It was around the 7 range, and I enjoyed my time with it. If there was a sequel, I would definitely buy it again, and I am waiting for the DLCs that come with it. Now on to number 3 of the list. This is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This is the game that probably I was the most hyped for in 2023, but it ended up being, like, if we're not talking Starfield disappointment and we're just talking how it's kind of hard for you to not screw this up, Spider-Man 2 would be the game that I feel like was screwed up. For me, the story in Spider-Man 2 was very, very weak. And as I said in my review, the story with Craven was better than the story with Venom. I felt like they didn't convey how much of a threat Venom was, because really the last 2 or 3 hours is the only threat with Venom, and Craven's story was better, and that completes around the halfway mark, maybe the 60% mark. To me, it was still a good game. The improvements that was from the first one, it was an open world game, the collectibles was still there, it did everything right, except I felt like the story was a step back. But it was still my third most favorite game of 2023. Number 2 on the list, and I went back and forth on what was 2 or 1. Number 2 on my list is Lies of P. Going to this game, I didn't really know what to expect. I played the beta that it was. I guess it would be the demo, because the beta is more for testing, but I played the demo and I enjoyed it. And then I ended up playing it on Game Pass since it was free, and I enjoyed my time with it. I ended up getting all the achievements. I ended up playing the game essentially 3 times, and I do have a review for that. That review will actually probably come out before this video does. I have had this review like edited for like 2 months, and I just never uploaded it. Yes, I have too much time on my hands. No, I spend too much time playing video games. But Lies of P is my number 2. I'll let the review speak for itself, but I enjoyed the game, and it was probably an 8 to an 8.5 for me. Like I said, between 1 and 2, I was debating what was 1, what was 2, and I feel like Lies of P is a good point to put it number 2. Like, it's its own game. It's different from the number 1 game on my list, but overall it's good. I felt like it was better than Dark Souls. The movement felt fluid, the weapons felt great. I hated the enemies though. The enemies I felt like were way too bullet spongy, and compared to some Dark Souls games, they do way too much damage. But I ended up beating it multiple times, unfortunately, because it was a terrible experience having to replay it on New Game Plus and all those. But overall, it was a great game, and I enjoyed it, and that's why it's number 2 on my list. And of all the new games that I played in 2023, the best game of 2023, in my opinion, was Hogwarts Legacy. I played this game early in the year when it came out, and I really wanted there to be more of this game. When I finished the game, I was disappointed. I didn't expect much going into it because I'm not a huge Hogwarts or Harry Potter fan. I've read like one of the books because I think my ex would read it and she would read it to me. That sounds like I'm a kid, but no, she enjoyed reading. She enjoyed reading so much that she would just read it when we would talk on the phone sometimes. Yeah, that's my experience with it. I watched the movie and there's that. So that's my experience. I wasn't a huge fan, but this game very much surprised me. I thought that the combat could use some improving because yes, it does get boring at some points through the game. It becomes repetitive, and I feel like maybe since I'm playing Helldivers now, the game could use like a Helldiver system. When you cast spells, like hitting button combos, up left gives you this spell, down right gives you this one, just to add some uniqueness to it. But that's for the sequel. Hogwarts Legacy, the collecting in the world itself, the characters within the game, I felt like it was the best fleshed out game of 2023. And now I feel like I have to do a conclusion to this. There's going to be some people, if they see this video, and asking where Baldur's Gate 3 is. I have not played Baldur's Gate 3. During that time, whatever games I mentioned during this, I was playing those when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, or I was leading up to those. Plus, I'm someone who wants to play all of the games before, so I have Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 bought, and I'll probably play those this year. So when I do a review in 2024 of the games I played, maybe I'll throw Baldur's Gate 3 in there just as a bonus. But I didn't play it. These are all of the games I played in 2023 that's new. Like, obviously I played other games that's on my backlist, but overall these 8 games are the ones I played, and these are the order that I put them in. If I had played Baldur's Gate, I probably would have it at number 1, but I haven't played it, so I can't tell you how good it is or how bad it is. These are the games I played, and overall I felt like 2023 was a good gaming year. There are plenty of games that I still want to play that I haven't played, such as the Resident Evil remake. I think that came out February last year. I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was February this year, because February's still here. That's going to be this video, 2023 wrap up. All 8 games I played, ranked from 8 to 1. And these games range from, I would probably put Starfield at like a 6. Honestly, I don't think it's a 5 because a 5 would be too low. But a 6, and the highest game on my list, which is Hogwarts Legacy, that's probably around an 8 or an 8.5 because I really enjoyed Hogwarts Legacy. So overall, 2023 for me, new game release wise, was a good year.